Um, Good to be coming home. Looking forward to the game. Few days to get ready here with Florida State, and obviously coming off a tough Saturday night at Miami. And like I said, after the game, that's a really good football team we played, and they deserve a lot of credit for how they played. And disappointing to us that we didn't play better. You know, but that's where we're at. We got to find a way to play better on the road. And good thing is we got two home games coming up and opportunity to play against a team that's, had a similar season. And man, it started really fast and have had, 4 1 possession games that they've lost in, been real close, talented roster. And, quarterback obviously is a guy that's been in the ACC. I've seen him a lot on film, haven't played against him, but dynamic player and strong arm. Looks like a running back when he runs the football. Big 6'6" receiver to throw the football to. Big offensive line, big defensive line. I think their nickel number 3, Edwin Joseph's a really good football player. Awesome player on special teams as well. Defensive tackles are massive, 6'4", 300, 6'5", 330. And so it's going to be a great challenge, and look forward to the opportunity to compete with these guys. And had them in the team room this morning, talked about the game that we just finished, and tonight we'll move on with the guys and get ready. It's 4 days away from another kick here, and obviously a night game at Carter Finley that we're excited about. Any questions?
All right, Jaden.
Yeah, Dave, you mentioned this being a quick turnaround. Obviously, just after Saturday being such a rough loss, is it nice to be able to flip the script so fast?
Yeah, yes and no. Yes, because we played terrible, which means I coached terrible, and um, I really thought we would play better football than that. And I knew we'd have to play really, really well. You're coming off a game where you beat the number 8 team in the country, which, the next team you're going to play is going to definitely take note of that. They're going to give you their best. It's senior night at Miami, and they're in a position where they got to win if they want to be in the playoffs. And so we knew we'd get their best. And the last time they were here, they didn't play well. And they played really good, and we did not. I knew we'd have to play inspired, mistake-free football to be in that game and have a chance to win, and we didn't. And so to have a quick turnaround, have to change gears to your question, probably does help. At the same time, we're a very beat-up football team, and we got so many injuries. Even our guy that serves coffee here on Mondays, Sam, got hurt this weekend in a hiking accident. Nothing big, but when your coffee guy's hurt, says a lot about what's going on. We got all kinds of injuries. And so, guys got to duct tape it up and play for each other, get ready to get back on the grass tomorrow morning and put our best foot forward.
Andrea?
Dave, how do you kind of flush the performance from Saturday with such a quick turnaround, knowing that you do have, bowl stakes on the line?
You got to be in the moment. And I think for me, the past is something that you learn from, and you have to use it as a tool for learning. In this case, it's pretty quick. We didn't spend as much time with the players on that game. Just the critical things that we know are going to carry forward. It was more about just, hey, we got to get back to what we have left. And, this morning we had 12 days of the regular season left with 2 games, both at home, both at night, one against Florida State, one against crosstown rival. So there's a lot on the table in a short period of time, and dwelling on what just happened doesn't help us get to what's next. And so, as the leader of these men, you got to steer them, and, we get to choose our attitude and our effort, and it's going to be chosen wisely. We got to do it the right way. And it's my responsibility and privilege to help these guys do that. And you know, adversity is definitely something that we're accustomed to. This season, it's been a lot of it with the injuries and other things off the field on our staff. And it's just another test, you know. And so I know these guys will play really hard for each other down the stretch. And you got to focus on where you're at and what's available to you, what you have left, instead of just what you don't. You know, you don't get to change what happened in Miami. You don't get to change what happened in Notre Dame. You can only learn from it and try to make your next opportunity better. And obviously, we've shown we can do that. Did that 2 weeks ago, but now it's time to go to the next test. And so, you know, football is a real laboratory of life. I mean, you have so many guys from so many places with so many things going on, and it's not just the players, it's the staff and the coaches. And you know, you have to manage it all and try to get them to block anything that can distract them, including failure, fear of failure, attaboys from a big win, criticism from a loss. It's about the game plan. It's about, you know, the brotherhood. It's about getting better. It's about executing plays, making plays that are there to make, and having fun, you know. And I think that's what gets lost in all this. You know, all the things going on. I mean, I read the dumbest article in the world today that they thought Lane Kiffin should be fired because he won't sign his contract extension. Like, the guy's doing a phenomenal job, and they're talking about that, you know, like, it's crazy right now. And no matter whether you're winning or losing, somebody wants to write something about you that's not what it's about. You know, it's about competing at the highest level and mentoring young men and doing things the right way and trying to help the place you're at. And I'm fortunate to get to do that again. You know, really fortunate. Get to play Florida State, a storied football program, in our stadium at 8 o'clock on Friday night, Carter Finley, a bunch of kids I love coaching. And so that's what we focus on instead of what we don't have. That's what we do have. We have another opportunity.
Noah?
Speaking of that, you were able to get a few guys back from injury this past weekend. What was it like seeing, you know, Spike or Justin or Ronnie out there back, you know, kind of helping the team?
Man, we need everybody we can get. You know, it really helped having Spike in the game, and a great test for him, you know, playing against that front. And it helps a ton to get Anthony Carter back as well. You saw him playing towards the end of the game. And Ronnie, you know, as thin as we are in the secondary, having any depth back there is really, really needed. And especially, you know, with the skill that Miami had, Florida State's going to have, you know, you're playing against some really elite athletes, to have a little bit of a rotation. And where it really hurts is on special teams. You know, I don't know how college football is going to survive with a roster of 105 players, which is what they're making us go to eventually. I can't imagine being at 105 right now with the number of guys that we have out. We'd be trying to practice with like 70 guys, you know. The attrition and how it trickles down to the roster and how it impacts not just offense, defense, but the rep count, you know, and how many plays you can actually give them to get ready when you're only one deep. In some cases, you got one guy backing up two spots, which we've had the last 2 weeks on both sides of the football. And so any player that comes back into the lineup, man, it's game changing, you know, and for a coach, it, you know, might get you another 30 minutes sleep.
JC?
You know, Florida State really shuffles in its personnel, many running backs, many receivers. You know, what is that like to prepare for when it almost changes on a play-to-play basis? And then is number 19 Danzy, the one guy that the players do need to always know where he is just because of his pure speed?
Well, I think there's more than him. And obviously he's really talented and he gets the ball in a lot of ways. And he was a running back at one time. So, you know, he's not just a receiver. He can carry the football and you know, they have a reverse or two that you have to be ready for every game. Number 12 comes in and he's an elite speed guy as well. They list him as a running back, but he's in space more than he's in the backfield. And so, you know, all Florida State teams you play have great speed, and this one's no different. I think having those two guys along with 6'6" receiver, you know, I mean, you got to know where a lot of them are. And I think as a play caller, as a defensive coach, you know, who comes in the game matters. And, you know, whether it's one tight end, two tight ends, one back, hey, 12's in the game. And then where do they align in formations? You know, every team you play, there's sometimes some nuggets you get out of that. Gus has been calling plays a long time, and he's a really good football coach. He's got a deep playbook and, you know, stuff that we're preparing for. We know there's going to be other stuff that he's got in that book that plays off of plays. And so we got to be able to use our rules and adjust the formations and be where we're supposed to be. And then you got to make plays. You got to tackle their speed and space. You got to play jump balls on big guys. And then the quarterback, you know, you can defend everything really well, and then he can get out of the pocket and score from anywhere with his speed. So, you know, it's a great challenge. And as always, you know, as a competitor, you look forward to those challenges.
Noah?
Yeah, Coach, at Miami, you talked about not being able to block their defensive line, making you the biggest struggle for the offense to get rolling. Was there anything else you noticed? Or if not, you know, what was the biggest thing you were able to take away and kind of use as a teaching tool for the offensive line to use this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is, since I've been in the ACC, there's maybe one other D line, the one that Clemson had with Dexter Lawrence and those guys the year they were national champs. That D line was dominating. This was the hardest defensive line that I've seen to block that we've played against. You know, I think the one we had with Chubb and BJ and Justin and Contavious was along those lines as well. They were all draft picks, and there's no question those four guys we played are draft picks. And so it's not just the size of their guys, it's the agility that comes with Miami's front. And then, you know, they're blitzing guys, their safeties are big. I mean, they look like linebackers when they're blitzing, and they're playing tight man-to-man coverage. So it's not like there's loose throws and zone coverage that you can dump the ball off to. They try to keep your backs in, and you know, they do a good job. I mean, look at them statistically. They're one of the top defenses in college football statistically for a reason. And it's personnel, scheme, and execution. And I thought that side of the ball for them going into the game was really, really impressive. And they were what we thought they'd be. They were a really good defense.
Right, I don't see hands up. I know you guys, a lot of you are remote, so if you have anything, ask it really quick. All right, Andrea, one more.
I'll ask one more. Dave, you have had success against Florida State. You've won 3 straight, 5 of the last 6. What is it about the matchups that you've had? Is there any kind of like link through that has allowed you to have the success that you guys have had against Florida State?
We've had a lot of good games with them. You know, I think they've been tight ball games, come down to the final minutes, and many of them, it's like any tight game. You find a way to make a play at a key moment, and we've been able to do that. And they've always had talented teams. They're always well coached. I have a lot of respect for Mike and his staff, and I don't expect it to be any different. You know, I expect it to be a really hard-fought game. Both teams, you know, are in similar situations. They're fighting for postseason play, and they're fighting to get to winning records. And to give you the magic to it, I don't know if there is any other than we've made more plays than them, you know, down the stretch in these games. And there's been a lot of plays made, you know, I think through all these games, and all of them come down to, you know, making key plays, protecting the football, getting the football back, you know, really good in the red zone. The special teams, because I think their special teams coordinator does a great job too. And so that competition between, you know, John Papuchis on their side and Todd Goebel on our side, because they've got really good punter and kicker, so do we. And the return game, you know, they got electric returners. And so they're, you know, that's a big battle within the game. But look forward to playing them. And I know it's going to be a really competitive, hard-fought game. All right. Thank you, guys.